AI is everywhere right now, and it's slowly but surely creeping its way into Hollywood. AI video generation is becoming better and better, studios are already investing millions into AI, and artificial actors are seemingly a thing now as well. With all of these developments, the thought of AI one day replacing real creative talents on film sets and even generating entire blockbusters all by themselves seems to be more and more realistic. I, however, don't see any chance of that happening. Ever. Even if AI could theoretically make a fully photorealistic 120-minute film with perfect shot continuity and everything, I'm still convinced that it wouldn't have the slightest chance of replacing a real film crew. My reasons for that lie not only in mere technical or legal limitations, but in the very nature of art as something deeply tied to being human. I know this is quite an emotionally charged topic for some of you Earthlings and myself as well, so let's all grab some tea and talk calmly about this. First of all, we have to clarify one thing. You should absolutely subscribe and like the video to help out a channel like mine in its humble beginnings. Then we have to clarify another thing. In this video, I'm going to focus on generative AI. AI-powered tools in general are everywhere in filmmaking already, and they're here to stay. Hell, AI was even used in the making of this very video with small things like masking, for example. These use cases are great because they streamline processes that would have been very tedious otherwise, while not removing any creative agency. But those are not the kind of things we want to talk about here. We want to focus on the scary evil robots that are going to not replace us all. Starting with AI video generation. Technology in this field has come a far way compared to whatever the hell this was just a few years ago. The most advanced models like Google's Veo 3 or OpenAI's Sora 2 can now generate individual shots that look visually cohesive and somewhat realistic at times, while still struggling with natural movements, shot continuity, and also having this plastic AI look to it. Right now, it's nowhere near capable of generating shots or entire scenes that could authentically emulate an actual movie. The best you can find in the vast world of AI movies are terribly written and even worse looking AI short films that have flooded YouTube. But I'm not going to go on a rant about them in this video. I'll stay calm and collected. Can't actually grab my tea because I don't have any physical hands, so just imagine me leaning back from time to time and taking a sip. That doesn't mean that generative AI hasn't made its way into Hollywood yet. It has been used on a number of really big projects, such as Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, or even Oscar-nominated movies like The Brutalist or Emilia Perez. In the latter two, AI was used to alter actors' voices. For example, in The Brutalist, Adrian Brody's character speaks Hungarian in a scene, so they used AI to clean up his accent. In Indiana Jones, AI was used to de-age the face of Harrison Ford in the opening scene. But as you can easily tell, these use cases are very limited at the time and arguably don't take away a lot of creative agency from the filmmakers. A more extreme example would be the intro of Marvel's Disney Plus show Secret Invasion, which was entirely AI generated. Naturally, it looked disgusting, people tore it apart on the internet, and it sort of became the only thing I ever heard or read about regarding the show. Therefore, I wouldn't call this a particularly successful use of AI. Speaking of not particularly successful, in the intro I already alluded to AI actors being a thing now. The most famous example is probably Tilly Norwood, a non-existing actress generated by AI who made headlines a while back for being the first one of its kind. The concept is that she has a personality and can be cast in films just like real actors. She made headlines when numerous talent agencies supposedly circled Tilly Norwood and wanted to sign her. This information now seems to have been completely made up by Tilly's creator, Ellen van der Velden, because not a single soul ended up actually signing her. And no one talks about it anymore, because guess what? It turns out that a machine isn't as good at portraying human emotions as a human. Who would have thought? Staying calm, sipping my tea. Telepathically. Looking at all of these developments right now, one thing becomes very clear. The use of generative AI in film is in its absolute infancy right now. Behind the sensationalist headlines about the death of human creativity and all of the buzz surrounding AI in general, there doesn't appear to be all that much happening in Hollywood right now, besides some altered voices, de-aged faces, and ugly intros. And I don't think there ever will, at least not on a AI is replacing half the creatives working in Hollywood today kind of scale, for numerous reasons. First of all, there is quite a strong resistance against generative AI from a lot of people within the film industry. One of the biggest examples here is the Writers' Guild strike, along with the Screen Actors Guild strike 3 years ago. Over several months, screenwriters and actors in Hollywood laid down their work for the second longest time ever, with 148 consecutive days of labor stoppage. Besides wage increases, better pensions, and health fund rates, the unions also successfully fought for a regulation of generative AI in screenwriting and acting. Their respective agreements with the AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, prohibit the exploitation of an actor's or writer's work to train AI without their consent. They also generally give the artists a lot more control over the use of their likeness and their work. Surprisingly enough, it's not only the artists who are taking steps against AI, but the studios as well, albeit with a few caveats. In late November of 2025, Disney and Universal launched major lawsuits against Midjourney and other AI image and video generation platforms for copyright infringements. The studios claim that these AI models were trained on a heap of copyrighted material and characters from Star Wars, Marvel, and many other IPs. This, in turn, enables users to generate as many infringing images and videos with these characters as they please. If these lawsuits are successful, this would be a huge step towards more control of every artist and copyright holder over their work and how it can legally be used to train AI. In a world in which AI companies wouldn't be able to just take whatever content they can get their hands on to feed into their AI models, the capabilities of said models to generate convincing images and videos could also shrink. Because the less data the AI can use for reference, the more likely it is to make mistakes and to produce subpar results. Now mind you, Universal and Disney didn't take these legal actions because they have moral issues with AI in general, or because they wanted to protect their artists. Of course they did. This is Universal and Disney we're talking about here. They did this to protect their IPs and in turn their money. As a matter of fact, Disney is even pushing the use of AI in other ways themselves, as they plan to enroll some sort of feature on Disney Plus, which will apparently allow users to generate their own content with AI. But I think the point still stands, that a lot of good things can come out of the aforementioned lawsuit, which might mark the first time in history that anything good ever came out of Disney's greed. But let's take it a step further than that. Let's imagine a world in which no artist in Hollywood would fight against being replaced, where no copyright laws would restrict what data AI can or cannot be trained on, and where AI models could create moving images and entire scenes that would be visually indistinguishable from human-made films. Even then, replacing creatives throughout the industry on a large scale with AI is still nowhere near feasible. There are two massive reasons for this. First of all, cinema is and has always been driven by innovation and uniqueness.
The entire visual language and storytelling of modern movies is a culmination of techniques that had to be invented and pioneered by talented filmmakers. You can look at the very beginnings of film, where innovators like D.W. Griffith or Sergei Eisenstein laid the foundations of modern editing techniques with cross-cutting and montage. You can look at Akira Kurosawa's shooting techniques with multiple angles that changed the way action scenes in particular would be shot in the future. There's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, spearheading a new, unique visual style by blending comic book aesthetics with digital animation, which would then inspire loads of other animated films to experiment with their styles as well. There's Christopher Nolan, proving that non-linear narratives can make for extremely immersive viewing experiences that could also be financially viable. And even something like the MCU pioneered in a lot of ways, because it was the first movie franchise to ever build such a large, connected universe across dozens of blockbusters. Since its inception, the film landscape has always continued to expand the horizon on how stories can be told and to engage the audiences of its time with new concepts and styles.
An AI model, on the other hand, is simply incapable of innovation. You see, it's always really bothering me when someone refers to generative AI as a tool for artists. A tool is something that would help you with the process of creation. Using AI is outsourcing that process to a machine. You don't get to call yourself an artist when using AI, the same way you don't get to call yourself a chef-cook by telling someone to make a meal from a half-finished recipe you gave them and then checking every few minutes to see if they've added too much salt. With generative AI, the creation part is done for you by an algorithm. And in this process of creation, it does nothing more than to calculate which results you would most likely want to see based on the data it has been trained on. This means that it is only ever going to be able to stitch together pieces of already existing works in a new package. It is never going to be able to invent a new style of animation, to come up with a new technique of shooting films, to experiment with the structure of stories, or to develop a unique way of writing dialogue. A common counter-argument here would be to say, well, humans build on what has been there before as well, don't they? Well, yes, of course they do, but the difference is that they don't exclusively derive from other artists, but are driven by everything around them as well. An AI completely lacks lived experiences, intentionality, and simply a drive for innovation. A filmmaking landscape dominated by AI would therefore grow horribly stale. It would rapidly dissolve into regurgitation of the same exact things that we have already seen over and over and over again. T. Calm. Tying into that, the last point I want to make is a fairly simple one, but it holds by far the most importance. Films are art, and art is always inspired by life. Therefore, it is and can only be exclusively human. When someone creates any piece of art, they inject a part of themselves and their lives into it, whether deliberately or subconsciously. What we create is driven by and shaped through our experiences, our emotions, and our empathy. In film, that doesn't just go for one artist, one director or writer. It goes for the dozens, often hundreds, if not thousands of creators that come together to form one piece of art, one movie. The writer and director weave their way of looking at life and the world around them into the stories and characters. The actors draw on their empathy and personal history to grasp and portray their roles. The composer enhances the scenes through his emotional understanding and personal associations. Every line, Every costume, every set, camera angle, cut, movement, performance, stunt, visual effect, musical cue, and so much more are all there not because an algorithm predicted they might be fitting based on stolen works of other people and a 5-sentence prompt, but because a human being with thoughts, feelings, and intentions shaped them and put them where they are. Every frame is brimming with humanity, whether we actively think about it or not. I believe that we can all feel it. It's part of the reason why we watch movies in the first place. Sure, we want to be entertained, but don't we also want to feel a sense of connection? To get a glimpse into the inner world of an artist through their work? To be moved and inspired by human beings who bring all of their humanity and craftsmanship into one piece of art, into one film? That's why it always makes me mad when people claim that real artists could be replaced by AI. It's almost an insult to art and life itself. AI could never, cannot, and will never be able to create art, to create something like this. Well, the keeping calm part didn't work out so well in the end. This topic means a lot to me, so I put a great deal of effort into this video. If you happen to find any value in it, I would greatly appreciate you leaving a like and subscribing. You can also check out my Letterboxd account as well, the link is in the description. As always, have fun watching movies, and see you in the next one.